Hello, Pulp Hounds. So, book haul. There's a little bit of a story attached to this book haul. I don't know if you've watched my triumphant return to YouTube video, but I've got a new job. I've been self-employed for years and years and years and years, and when you're self-employed for years and years, you make sure that your tax is right. You're not paying any more than you need to. And oddly enough, they got me tax wrong. So I've been paying too much tax at my new job. And I got a tax rebate, which I've not had for decades. So I did the grown-up thing and paid some towards my gas and electric bills. And then kept a little bit to one side. I say a little bit. Yeah. Also, I don't know if you watched my previous video, but I'm struggling to read paperbacks at the minute. Especially my beloved New English Library books. The text is just too small. The paper's too poor quality. I can't see them very well. So I decided to get a couple of nice hardbacks because I can read them a lot easier. And my plan was to leave them all in the packages and do them as an unboxing video. So we'd see them at the first time together. I'd love that. But the first one that arrived, I could feel it was a paperback. And I hadn't ordered any paperbacks. And it didn't have a shipping note in it. It wasn't the right book, obviously. It didn't have a shipping note in it. It didn't have a return address. So I was like, I'm going to have to open the rest to figure out which one this should have been. If that makes sense. But, thankfully, it was one that I was just like, oh, go on, it's a good price. I'll have that. And it wasn't one of the ones that I was desperate for. And there's a few. So let's just start. Let's just start with the first one. In no particular order. I managed to get a really lovely copy of this blue book. It's actually an older library edition of The Empty House by Algernon Blackwood. I've got all the spring books. It's a third printing from 1947. That's what's in An Empty House. I've got all the spring collections from the 60s. I love those. And everything in The Empty House isn't in the spring books. So I knew that was one I wanted to get. It's not in bad nick. It hasn't got like a gorgeous dust jacket. But to be honest, I just needed a hardback that was good enough quality print that I could sit and read. So I haven't started that one yet. Some of these I've just about finished. Some of these were more expensive than others. I love early Frank Belknap Long stuff. And again, I've got cheap 60s paperbacks of some of his stuff. And I wanted a really good hardback, a nice collection. I've got the Neville Spearman book, The Early Long, which is marvellous. And I know it's an obvious choice, but The Hounds of Tindalos is one of my all-time favourite horror stories. I adore it. So this is a slightly later collection. It's an Arkham House First Edition from 1972. And there's a few more sci-fi things in here. There we are. But it's just beautiful. And as I've said before on my channel, I'd really love a decent Arkham House collection. And I figured that, seeing as I was having a little bit of a book splurge, maybe now was a good time to expand my very small Arkham House collection. Oh, speaking of Arkham House collection, Right. Some of you will kind of go, all right, he's got some books, that's cool. Some of you will kind of go, how much has he spent? Just keep it to yourselves, all right? Look, I've been absolutely broke for months, and my wage covers everything I need and my bills and some luxuries. And it was just like, I hadn't planned for this money, so yeah, I'm going to pay some to my energy company, and then I'm going to have a ridiculous book splurge. This is, it's got protective wrapping on. So this is a Arkham House first edition of Disclosures in Scarlet by Carl Jacobi. To be honest, Revelations in Black, I've got the Neville Spearman edition. That's what's in this one. I don't know if they're coming out, but I guess you could pause it and see. Revelations in Black was one of the first, really, at the time, really expensive books that I bought. I think I paid about £10 for it. Because I'd read a couple of his stories and loved them. And Revelations in Black is one book I always go back to. It's like one of my favourite LPs that I could just listen to over and over again. I could just keep reading it and rereading it. I have read this. I'm as I've said before, if you're one of my newer subscribers, hello and thank you. If you're one of my old guard, then you know I don't watch a lot of telly. I'm not criticising you if you do. I just lose interest in it. Give me a good book and I'm set for night. So I read this in a couple of nights and it's heavenly dark. I adore it. And this came up at a reasonable price from... is it called Fantastic Fiction? They had some very good priced Arkham House books. So I grabbed a couple off them and they were brilliant. So that is just, I was so thrilled. I think this is the most, or one, there's like 3 books that are like the most important books that I bought for me, for my collection. So, Disclosures in Scarlet. Speaking of the most important books in my collection that I've recently bought with this tax windfall. Now, I couldn't afford a first edition. This is a Tom Stacey edition from 1972. Nice hardback editions of Karnaki the Ghost Finder are getting really hard to come by. And I dropped on this one, I think, for a song. I'm sure other people would look at what I paid for it and go, you paid how much for a collection of ghost stories? Karnaki is one of my literary heroes. I do like Sherlock Holmes. I do like all that. I love occult detectives. But Karnaki is my absolute favourite occult detective. And I'm hunting down decent quality, decent condition, nice William Hope Hodgson hardbacks. They're just very expensive. Some are just prohibitively expensive. But I was very, very pleased to get that. Right, next. Round about now, this is when everybody's kind of sat there going, how much was his tax windfall? It was fairly hefty. I was very thrilled. So this is an Arkham House edition of From Evil's Pillow by Basil Copper. There he is, look. Basil Copper. That's his actual brandy glass. He'd fill that with 2 bottles of brandy every night and power through it until he couldn't see. It's not a huge anthology. I guess a lot of these are so long they'll be classed as novellas. But I do love Basil Copper. And there's a couple of really nice Arkham editions. And I'm currently hunting for other Arkham Basil Copper editions. I haven't started this one yet. The tape is on the protective mylar sleeve. It's not on the dust jacket. It's just to keep it in good nick. I got that comparatively incredibly cheap. That's an eBay find. That's just from a private eBay seller, and it was just hidden away there. And I was like, it was on Buy It Now as well, and I was like, so I bagged it double quick. I can't wait to get stuck into this. I've not read any of the stories in this one. I've read a lot of Basil Copper. I think he's was fab, but yeah, I've not read any of those, and I can't wait to sit down with a lovely hardback Arkham House edition and get stuck into some Basil Copper. What's next? Okay, so we've had Karnaki. Another key book for me to make sure I got a nice edition of is the John Silence stories. Now, I don't think this is complete because I've got a Dover paperback edition of the John Silence stories, and there's an extra. I think there's 7 in that one. There's 6 in this one, or is there 6 in that one and 5 in this one? Where are we? 5 in this one, so there's 6 in the Dover one. It's not the most imaginative dust jacket ever, is it? And someone's used it as a coaster at some point. How on earth could you possibly bring yourself to do that? But this is a really lovely edition. It's John Baker, that's the publisher, from 1969. And it's just smashing. I've read some of those in this, and I never fail to adore Algernon Blackwood's stories, but specifically his John Silence stories. The whole mystic occult investigator, it's something that thrills me. So I thought that was quite nice. That wasn't super expensive either. I think that one was about a tenner. Right then. So we're about halfway through. There's an expensive one in the next pile. If we already haven't had enough expensive ones, there's an expensive one in the next pile. I got this one for a song as well. Do you do that where you go on like book listing websites like ABE Books and that, and there's something you fancy, you're just having a browse, and there's one at like 15 quid, and then all the rest are like 45 to 55, and you think, what's wrong with that? And you think, I'll risk it, and you order it, and it turns up and it's perfect. So L. Sprague de Camp's biography of Howard. I love a bit of Howard. There he is. There's de Camp. Fetching beard, Sprague. I recently read the Frank Belknap Long biography of Lovecraft that Arkham House published, Dreamer on the Night Side, and I loved it. It were really personal, because they were great mates and they spent a lot of time together, and to get that personal insight, it was just brilliant. And then I thought, do you know what? I'd like to read something a little bit more, not studious, but something that's more of a factual biography rather than a personal account of times they spent together, which apparently this one is. It's a rate chonker. How many pages? Oh, it's not. It's just thick paper. Even with the index, it's only 500 pages, so I'll probably whistle through that fairly sharpish. But yeah, that's it's one I've had my eye on for ages, and it was like the last cheap one that I found. The rest were, and a couple have gone since, because I looked again the other week, and I think like on ABE the cheapest one now is like 65. I haven't started that, so I don't know if it's any good. Online, everyone says it's like the definitive biography of Howard. Not an Arkham House up next. Right, a couple of problematic books next, and I'll explain why in a minute. It was very cheap, It's Mycroft and Moran. So that's like Arkham House's crime imprint. But it's MP Shields, Zaleski and Monk. His Prince Zaleski stories and King Monk stories. No dust jacket. So I think it was about £9. And all the ones up from there were like 40, 50. And I decided to get this because I want to read it. I've never read mainly his Prince Zaleski stories, which I have read now, and they were brilliant. He's like this dawdling flaneur of a dandy that solves all these occult and weird cases, but never leaves his like bohemian lair. He just sits there. People come to him and go, right, this happened, this happened, this happened, and I've got this letter from them. And he just takes loads of drugs and goes, yes, it was that occurred. And you go, oh, that was very clever. Thank you, mate. It's flipping genius. I genuinely adored reading this. And then as a suggestion, this popped up. And again, it was like the low end of the ones. I don't know if it should have had a dust jacket. It's Forum edition. And it shields The Purple Cloud from... the pages are a bit yellow. It's a 1946 edition. I love The Purple Cloud. I've got like a 60s Dell paperback of it, which I've looked at, and again, the print's too small and the paper's too poor quality. I can't see it properly. So this, thankfully, is probably going to be all right. It's very cheap. Look at those pages. None of them are cut to the right length. It's gorgeous. I love it. I actually got those. I wanted Zaleski and Monk. And then Purple Cloud popped up as a suggestion. And my thought was, one of my very lovely subscribers, hello, whoever you were, suggest when I did my William Hope Hodgson biography video thing, to do MP Shield. And I thought, MP Shield. I did like, is it pronounced Zalusha? It's with an X. And I've got a few of his other books. And I do like him. And I thought I'd get those, give him a read, and start working on an MP Shield video. But there's some very problematic behaviour in MP Shield's past that seems to have come out. He did serve a prison sentence. He was convicted to hard labour, so it was a pretty serious crime. And at the time, it was kind of covered up, but the nature of his crimes suggest that he's not somebody I really want to go into the details of their life. I don't feel like I can talk about him as one of my literary heroes, which I don't know. He's dead, and maybe I'd rather not known. I don't know. It's weird when these, it's not even allegations, it's like, that's what he went to prison for. And it is what you think it is. And it is disgusting. So, moving swiftly on. Oh, there's an expensive one next. I've wanted this for years. Joseph Payne Brennan's Stories of Darkness and Dread. It's a lovely Arkham House first edition, and there he is. Yeah. I've only read Joseph Payne Brennan's stuff in other anthologies. It's 1973 first edition. That's what's in it. And I thought, for ages, I've wanted a right nice edition of his stories, and obviously now I can't read paperbacks. I've stopped looking for a nice paperback edition, and this came up. Fantastic literature, that's it. Sorry, not fantastic fiction. Fantastic literature. So this one came with the with Disclosures in Scarlet, the Carl Jacobi book, and yeah, it it wasn't cheap, but compared to what everybody else is charging for this book, it was decidedly cheap. I need to get something on it to protect the dust jacket because it hasn't got a protective sleeve. But that's a heavenly object. I am thrilled to own this particular thing. This tree pulp and ink, an arrangement of printed letters. It makes me happy. It makes me want to just be in my house and just read creepy stories all winter. I'm going to hibernate. So, the same company that published that Karnaki that I got, I was looking on the back, so I thought, that's a really nice edition. What's the publisher? Tom Stacey. I haven't got any of their... Well, it turns out I have. I've got a couple of their anthologies, but they haven't got... I got them cheap without dust jackets, so I didn't figure that they were all a similar design. But I looked on the back of the dust jacket, and I saw they'd done an edition of Creep Shadow Creep by Abraham Merritt. Now, I do really like Abraham Merritt a lot. 7 Footsteps to Satan is amazing pulp, joy, occult nonsense. And I've got a really nice edition of Burn Witch Burn. And I'd only heard about this, like whispered, that he'd done a sequel to Burn Witch Burn. Burn Witch Burn, incidentally, was filmed as Night of the Eagle in, is it 62 or 63? Or am I too early? With Peter Wingard. A brilliant British occult, sinister thriller, black magic type movie. It's marvellous. If you've never seen Night of the Eagle, have a look around for it. I'm sure it'll be on YouTube or somewhere streaming or something. So yeah, this is a sequel to Burn Witch Burn, filmed as Night of the Eagle. Creep Shadow Creep. I wish he'd done all his books like word, other word, repeated word. I think that would have been marvellous. So I haven't started this. This is a novel. It's a when's it from? Tom Stacey edition, 1972. Originally written in 35. So he was writing in the like 30s, around the time of all the guys like Lovecraft and stuff. But he was more straightforward, like spooky occult pulp loveliness. So that's I'm busy, so busy at work. But I've got, like, next week, I've got an extra couple of days off. I've taken a couple of holiday days. And I'm going to sit on my sofa, drink tea, stroke Nimbus, and read novels. So I can just sit all day and get through a novel. And the last one, the final one, I wanted an Arkham House edition of Lovecraft. And I hunted around. Again, I got this one off eBay. This was just an eBay seller. And it's not an old Arkham House book because for Lovecraft ones have gone up so much in price. It's an 80s Arkham House. But I decided to pick one of my favourite Lovecraft tales. And that's At the Mountains of Madness. I adore that. I can just read it over and over and over again. So this is a lovely collection of stories and novellas. So we've got Mountains of Madness, Case of Charles Dexter Ward, Shunned House, Dreams in the Witch House, Statement of Randolph Carter, Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath, Silver Key, and Through the Gates of the Silver Key. So some horror, some Dreamland stuff. It's nice. I do like these 80s Arkham House ones. I'm not as struck on the cover design as some of the 70s ones, but they're on really lovely quality paper. It's a really it's not large print, but it's a bold print on good quality paper. The ink that they use to print is very good quality, and I can see them. So yeah, Mountains of Madness, it's just glorious. So if anybody's sat at home with the calculator kind of estimating, I don't want to know. I just ordered things and they arrived. So, yeah, that's what I've been spending my ill-gotten gains on. There's a lot of money's worth there. But, like, the wonderful and amazing Mark Morris said, you know, when he saw me pile, he was like, mate, you've been brassic for months. You've gone without anything. You've had £7 a week for your food. You've got this extra money. Treat yourself. And I have done. And I've got some amazing things that I am excited and desperate to read. There isn't enough free hours in the day for me to plough through these, but I am doing. I'm not even reading one at a time. I'll kind of have a couple of stories out of Algernon Blackwood and stick my bookmark in, and then grab like MP Shield and read a couple of those, and yeah. Anyway, I shall leave it there. Thank you so much for watching, guys. It's lovely to be back. And I will see you in next week's video. I'm not sure what day it's going to be uploaded, but it will be. Thank you. Stay safe, and I'll see you lovely lot in the next video.